The world has been paying tribute to Queen Elizabeth II. In her role as head of the Commonwealth of Nations, the Queen helped advance a new international order of peace and prosperity. She ascended the throne only a few years after the partition of India. Both Pakistan and Bangladesh were created out of India, all three members of the Commonwealth, but not without their differences. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Queen Elizabeth twice during trips to the UK. He warmly remembered the Queen showing him a handkerchief given to her by Mahatma Ghandi. The PM tweeted, "She'll be remembered as a stalwart of our times. She provided inspiring leadership to her nation and people, personified dignity and decency in public life." Our Delhi Bureau Chief Amrita Chima joins us. So we saw Modi's message of condolence. What's been the reaction in India?
Ben, tributes have been pouring in since the news came in, and the news came in India late last night. So most of the newspapers didn't catch more than just a short headline on the news of the Queen's passing. But there's a lot of stuff online, and the televisions are giving a lot of coverage. A lot of the comments are coming from politicians. One local politician described Queen Elizabeth as a person who had shown courage, wisdom, and praised her service to the nation. And then you had another person talking about, she's a wonderful person. She was a true friend of India. So a lot of coverage on the Queen's passing here in Delhi.
The Queen ascended the throne just after Indian independence. She really was the face of the evolving relationship between India and the UK, wasn't she?
In many ways, yes, Ben, because she became a queen 5 years after India got independence in 1947, and she came to India 11 years later. Now, her first visit was in 1961, and she talked about the warmth and hospitality of Indians, and she also talked about the richness and diversity of India, which she said was an inspiration to people like her. So her next visit then was in 1983, and that's the time when the Commonwealth heads of government were meeting here in Delhi. And that was also the time that she famously gave Mother Teresa an Order of Merit. And at that time, Indira Gandhi, India's female prime minister, was there. And it was wonderful to see these pictures we've been seeing in recent hours of the two strong, competent and elegant ladies obviously enjoying each other's company. And a final visit, Ben, to India was in 1997, and that was when India was marking 50 years of independence. And that's when the Queen, for the first time, acknowledged the colonial history between the two countries. And she talked about difficult episodes of colonial history and mentioned specifically a famous massacre at Jallianwala Bagh. So obviously, she had acknowledged that, and that meant a lot to people here in India.
Amrita, do you have any personal memories of the Queen?
Well, actually, I have too. When I was a very little girl, I was obviously quite kind of mesmerized by the whole royalty thing. So I wrote a letter to the Queen asking about her and asking her for a photo. Obviously, I didn't get a reply back from her, but I did get a reply from her lady-in-waiting, saying she'd been instructed by Her Majesty to thank me for my letter. And the second episode was actually much later when I was a student. Yeah, and that's it. And the second time, Ben, was when I was a student in England at Oxford University, and she was our chief guest at a Rhodes Scholars function. So I remember that she came by, and we were all dazzled by her very neon-coloured outfit. She just walked past me. But Prince Philip, he stopped by and exchanged a few words with me, but that wasn't good enough for me. I had wanted to talk to the Queen.
Amrita, tell me, what is the Commonwealth now without Queen Elizabeth II?
I think most people will say quite diminished, because many people felt in the Commonwealth that she was the glue that held this grouping together, because people had personal regard for her, even though some people feel that this whole Commonwealth thing is a bit outdated, but they felt that till she is there, that this organization was worth being a member of. Now, but things are changing also in India, as we saw just very recently, the Indian Prime Minister, he renamed the street just behind me. It was called Kingsway earlier, linked with the colonial past. It's now been named the Path of Duty. And what he said, the Prime Minister, was India has got rid of a symbol of slavery. So you see that there's a great desire here in this government to get rid of the colonial legacy. And I'm sure that will also have an impact on India's links with the Commonwealth. Amrita Chima for us in Delhi. Thank you very much. Reactions to the Queen's passing have been pouring in from around the region. Singapore's leader, Lee Hsien Loong, described Elizabeth II as the very heart and soul of the UK.
Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen said her country remembers and celebrates her life of leadership and service, which set an example for people around the world. And Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida also paid tribute to the Queen for strengthening ties between his country and the UK.
This is a huge loss, not only for the British people, also for the international community. Japan will be with the people of Britain in overcoming this deep sorrow.
China has also offered condolences, but the Queen's passing is more acutely felt in Hong Kong. The British ruled the territory for over 150 years before handing it back to the Chinese in 1997. People have been gathering outside the British consulate, the Union Jack flying at half-mast. Elizabeth visited Hong Kong twice during her reign in 1975 and 86, when it was still a British outpost. Here are some reactions from Hong Kongers.
I miss the Queen very much, and I'm very grateful to her for the many years she ruled over Hong Kong.
When I learned of her passing away this morning, I felt a pang of sadness. It's possible that we've always had a firm handle on the circumstances of the British royal family as I grew up. This feels both distant and close.
I remember her visiting Hong Kong in the early days of her reign. Grandiose and influential. The general public felt she was beautiful and wonderful.
And over to DW correspondent Phoebe Kong. Tell us more about the reaction in Hong Kong.
Well, Queen Elizabeth and the royal family is, of course, no stranger to Hong Kong residents. And like just last night when the news broke, many people took to social media to mourn the death of the Queen. And today, more and more people, online and offline, are paying tribute to this legendary figure that like many people went to the British Consulate General in Hong Kong to leave flowers and also messages to the book of condolences, and people saying that they pay respect and also gratitude to the Queen that have like ruled Hong Kong for decades before Hong Kong was handed back to China. And also there was some like reaction from the government that despite at the times of some kind of the tensions between China, Hong Kong government, and also the UK. But then Hong Kong Chief Executive John Lee gave a short statement saying that he expressed profound sadness and condolences to the death of the Queen, and he described that the Queen was greatly respected and praised by the British people. So that's the reaction from the Hong Kong government. And when we look at the media coverage, that like of course this is one of like the biggest news today in Hong Kong because people feel so connected with the UK and also the Queen herself. But then because of the political climate here and also kind of like a sensitive matters of covering about the UK royal family, that some of the media like appear to have some self-censorship that I've heard from some of the friends from the newsroom working in Hong Kong, that they say like some editors like have to self-censor some of the news coverage to tune down the coverage and not to like play it too big.
Can you describe for me in more detail that connection there to the UK and the monarchy, especially for the older generation?
Yes, Hong Kong had been like under British rule for over 150 years, and the most important era, that is the post-war era, was under the reign of the Queen Elizabeth. And interestingly, like people in Hong Kong call the Queen as the boss lady. That is the nickname given to the Queen by the general public. That is like a Cantonese nickname. So we can feel the sense of like special attachment and special connection between the Hong Kong people and then and to the Queen herself. And then like but that's not only limited to the older generation. It's also the younger generation that feels that like the greatest legacy left by the Queen and the colonial governments that she led is that like making Hong Kong from a fish village to one of the most successful international cities by like laying like important infrastructure to at the society, say say, the judiciary, the educational, the medical system, and the very important like administrative system that have left Hong Kong so successful in many aspects. So for many people, the Queen represents those good old times of Hong Kong, that especially when Hong Kong is facing like political upheavals after the handover. So many people like miss those times like under the colonial rule, and like even until today, we still see some like signs and footprints of the Queen, like many important facilities like the hospitals, some public schools are named after Queen Elizabeth, and even some coins like with her face on it still circulate until today. So she is kind of like still a living memories for many residents in Hong Kong.
Phoebe Kong on the boss lady and her footprint in Hong Kong. Thank you. Well, apart from the UK, Queen Elizabeth was the monarch of 14 countries. One of those was Papua New Guinea, which, like nearby Australia and New Zealand, woke up today with a new head of state, King Charles III. Here's PNG's Prime Minister James Marape.
From the mountains, the valleys, the plains, the islands and the lowlands of our country, and the 600 plus islands that we call Papua New Guinea, the entire nation stand in silence and offer our deepest condolences.
Well, that's it for this week. More coverage on the Queen's legacy on our website. We leave you with her many trips to Asia during her long reign. Bye-bye.